The Book of Revelation for the World Today, a chapter-by-chapter study of what God has revealed about the future. Welcome to the Book of Revelation for the World Today. We will be reading from the Bible in the Book of Revelation, chapter 18, verses 1 to 8. It describes the coming destruction of political and religious Babylon. The opening phrase of chapter 18, after these things, marks a different time than that which was given in chapter 17. The announcement by the angel given in verse 2 that we will read shortly declares that Babylon the Great is fallen. The repetition of the verb is fallen indicates a sudden end, though the context indicates a future event. There are two separate stages of the fall, referring first to Mystery Babylon as a system or spirit of false worship, and second, to Babylon as a city with its political power. The announcement of chapter 18 coming so closely after the destruction of the harlot in chapter 17 has left some wondering whether the two are one and the same event. There are a number of reasons for believing that chapter 18 is different. The woman who is destroyed in chapter 17, called Mystery Babylon, is made desolate, naked, and burned with fire by the beast with the 10 horns. The destruction of the harlot in chapter 17 is the fall of Babylon in its ecclesiastical or religious sense, and it probably occurs when the beast assures the role of God in the middle of the 7 years of tribulation. The world church will be destroyed to usher in a world religion honoring the political dictator, the Antichrist. History has already made it clear that the Roman Catholic Church is responsible for the formation of the coming one world religion with her efforts of ecumenism, bringing together the religions of the world. Though Catholicism will be destroyed as a religion, I believe that Rome will continue as the headquarters of the new world religion, with the Antichrist being the god of the world. Our text presents us with 4 truths that every serious Christian in our days should examine carefully. We will see the fall of Babylon, the extent of her abominations, the call of separation, and the day of her destruction. The fall of Babylon, verse 1 and 2. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of demons, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Verse 2 says that Babylon the Great has fallen. The repetition of the phrase "is fallen" is probably intended to describe 2 separate stages of a fall, referring first to the religious Babylon and second to political Babylon as a city. Last week we saw in chapter 17 that the beast and his allies will destroy the harlot Babylon. In chapter 18, it is God himself who destroys the commercial or political aspect of Babylon. In chapter 17, the kings hate religious Babylon, around the half of the 7 years tribulation. But in chapter 18, the kings of the earth mourn the destruction of commercial Babylon. Chapter 17 says nothing of Babylon interacting with the merchants of the earth and maritime trade, but this emphasis is very strong in relation to the Babylon of Revelation 18. These things give ample evidence that the chapter 17 and 18 present 2 different aspects of Babylon during the tribulation period. It starts out as the religious center, but ends up as the economic center of the world. There are definitely similarities between the two Babylons. Both are under the rule of the Antichrist. Both hate Christians and shed their blood. Both are associated with kings in fornication, and both are under judgment and are destroyed. However, there are major differences. Mystery Babylon of chapter 17 has it as symbol the harlot woman. She is guilty of religious abominations. She is destroyed by a political power that previously supported her. Now, political Babylon of Revelations 18 that we're looking at has for its symbol a great city. She is identified as having a part of commerce. She has become a habitation of demons and is a marketplace. She is guilty of greed and self-indulgence. She is destroyed by a sudden act of God. Religious Babylon of Revelation 17 is judged at the midpoint of the 7-year period of tribulation. Political Babylon is judged at the end of that period. So we have her fall of Babylon, but secondly, we have the reason why she falls. It's because of the extent of her fornication. Verse 3, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are grown rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Just as the Roman Church had grown rich in her wickedness, as we saw last week, political Babylon has prospered. The Roman Catholic Church, headquartered in Rome, Italy, has its own powerful city-state, the Vatican. The Roman Catholic Church unofficially came into being in 312 AD under the leadership of the Roman Emperor Constantine, but he worshipped the sun god. When Rome went from being pagan to Christian under Constantine, they had to find a replacement for Isis, the great mother of paganism. Since Mary was the mother of Jesus, she was the most logical person to replace the pagan mother goddess. The pagans could continue their prayers and devotion to the mother goddess, only they would now have to call her Mary. True Christianity teaches that Jesus Christ is to be worshipped alone, not his mother. The fact remains that Jesus never hinted at the idea of worshiping Mary, nor did any of the apostles. Martin Luther himself witnessed that Rome, with its popes, was anything but a holy city. He was quoted as saying, "No one can imagine what sins and infamous actions are committed in Rome. They must be seen and heard to be believed. It has been said, if there is a hell, Rome is built over it." End of quote. Roman Catholicism places an unbiblical burden upon the clergy by forbidding them to marry. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 and 3, the Bible calls this a doctrine of devils. It's important to note that the priests of pagan Rome were also required to be celibate, and this tradition dates back several thousand years. The priests of pagan Rome were called fathers, but Jesus said to call no man father in Matthew 23, 9-12. From what source did the Roman Catholic custom of calling a priest father come from? Well, it was from the pagan world. It is plain to see that the majority of the traditions of the Roman Catholic Church are man-made and of Roman origins. To deny that Roman Catholicism is a false religion is to discredit the Reformation and mock the millions of martyrs who died at Rome's hands. Remember, a cult is a religious group that denies one or more of the fundamentals of the biblical truth. Roman Catholicism is not truly Christian, but it is an offshoot of Christianity and the largest and oldest cult under the name Christian in the world. The display of adoration, the gaudy parade of a man as if he were a god, the pandering to idolatrous worship through bowing down and kissing his ring, the insistence that he be addressed as His Holiness the Pope or Father of all Christians confirms that the Roman Catholic Church is a false religion. The Church always has and continues to teach false doctrine. The doctrines it professes to believe and teach are perverted by doctrine based upon tradition that contradicts the Bible. It is essential to understand that there are two basic false teachings in the Roman Church that clearly classifies it as a false church. These two basic errors are: it teaches, first of all, that the Bible is the Word of God, which is true, but it adds the apocryphal books to the Scriptures. It also elevates church tradition and the edicts of the popes and councils to the same or even greater level of authority than the Word of God, making it false. This amounts to adding to the Word of God, therefore placing Roman Catholicism under God's curse. It also teaches that faith in Jesus Christ is necessary for salvation, which is absolutely true. But it denies that same truth of the gospel by adding sacraments, adding good works, and purgatory as additional requirements for forgiveness of sin and for eternal life. This is a false gospel which places Catholicism under God's curse. Because Galatians chapter 1 verse 8 says, "But though we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed." So by scriptural standards, the Roman Catholic Church is a false church that can only expect God's judgment. It's not a true church that can claim God's blessing. Roman Catholicism is nothing more than Babylonian paganism that has been whitewashed and made to appear Christian. All this brings us to our next truth, the call of separation to Christians, verse 4 and 5. "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities." This is a warning to all Christians. God calls His people to separate themselves from that church that will be destroyed. There are two meanings here. First, to come out, meaning to be separated from her sins, and secondly, to flee from her in order to avoid her judgment. Just as Lot fled Sodom before its destruction, and like the Israelites fled Egypt, and like the early church fled Jerusalem to avoid persecution before her destruction, so God's people are told to leave her behind, to leave religious Babylon before her destruction comes upon her. Our text tells us that in the middle of the 7 years of tribulation, Catholicism will have become a home for demons. There's no place there for a believer. But Christians do not belong to the world, but have been chosen out of the world. You see, even though you are not committing sin as such, you can commit sin by association. The Bible tells us over and over not to be unequally yoked with those of unbelief. If you do not remove yourself, you are guilty of her sins. The last truth concerning religious Babylon is her day of destruction that is coming. Verses 7 and 8. "How much she hath glorified herself and lived luxuriously, So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Her plagues will come in one day. The wicked city system will be instantly destroyed. And in Daniel chapter 5, verses 25 and 28, we have a similar fate that fell on ancient Babylon. The city fell the very night that God wrote its doom on the wall of the king's palace. Babylon's city, Rome, is doomed, and its destruction cannot be avoided. No one can change God's plan or keep him from accomplishing what he has purposed. Yet the city has a nickname, the Eternal City. According to scholars, it was the poet Tibullus who made the first explicit reference of Rome as the Eternal City in the 1st century before Christ. Between 100 BC to around 400 AD, the city of Rome was the largest city in the world. Around 500 AD, the empire's populace grew to an estimated 50 to 90 million inhabitants. At the time, this was roughly 20% of the world's population. Rome was known as the Eternal City, even among the ancient Romans themselves. It was so called because the Roman people thought that no matter what happened to the world, no matter how many other enterprises might rise and fall, Rome would go on forever. It was nicknamed the Eternal City more than 2,000 years ago. Rome is the capital of Italy. Yet within Rome is found the Vatican City. Vatican City is the smallest country and state in the world. Vatican City is an independent city-state that covers just over 100 acres, making it 1/8 the size of New York's Central Park. Vatican City is governed as an absolute monarchy with the Pope at its head. Now, Rome is a city, and the Pope is always the Bishop of Rome. But his headquarters is in his own little state or country, the Vatican. So there is no wonder that chapters 17 and 18 are talking about the same location, but one part is the religious part, and the other part is the political one. The political revived Roman Empire. Babylon will be destroyed in one day. That is the future of the Vatican and Rome. Our relations with this religious system should be total separation and the understanding of its corrupt ways. Satan is using the Roman Catholic Church to prepare the world for the Antichrist with a one-world church. May God help us as we seek to follow the Lord faithfully, even though we're in difficult days. Until next time, well, if God doesn't come first at the rapture, may God bless you and make you a blessing to others. Maranatha.